This is going to be a little bit of a longer talk and a little bit different. But what I'd like to talk with you about is my family here who were victims in the Holocaust. And I also want to talk about how we remember them. So memory is not just something that we have, but it's also something that we choose to go ahead and create. So when we think about an event, what's fascinating about something like the Holocaust is, in fact, how do we choose to remember it? One of the French philosophers who I think was profound in his gifts to humanity was a man named Paul Ricoeur. And he talked about how when we have text, not only do we choose how we remember it, the text also chooses how we are going to have it imprinted upon ourselves. When we think about the Holocaust, though, I want us to contemplate not just how we think about it, but how do we engage with it? And the primary vehicle that most of us think about when we think about text when it comes to the Holocaust is not an actual book, but it's movies. It's movies, notably movies like this, or this, or this. What's interesting, though, when we start to really think about these movies deeply, is we have to ask a few questions. Like, who is the victim? Who is the perpetrator? How are we identifying with the victim or the perpetrator? Do we see American participation in the Holocaust in a very specific way, or World War II? Do we see Nazi aggression in a specific way? What is this contributing to our master narrative or our collective memory of the Holocaust? We also need to be aware that documentaries like this portray the Holocaust in a different way and show the horrors and are very graphic. So we have both the Hollywood effect as well as the actual archiving, recognizing also that when camps were liberated, one of the main primary ways that Americans experienced the Holocaust was through those videos that were sent back in reels so that people could see what was actually occurring. So the master narrative of what actually happened in the Holocaust and the destruction of Europe in World War II is what we know what we believe actually happened surrounding the acceptability of certain facts as they're represented through film. And then later, how they're being impacted by film itself, i.e., how do we expect our memory of a specific event to impact how we're going to have future generations both remember and discuss it? Like the Holocaust, how will I remember my family is a very specific question and something that challenges us continuously.